Hi guys, so on today's video we'll be talking about liquidity run. Have you ever noticed price moving directly towards a previous high or previous low before changing direction or continuing the trend? Like it moves back and it dips very close to the previous high or previous low before continuing the trend. Now that's what happens. This move is often called liquidity run. In this video, I'll explain what a liquidity run is, why it happens, and how traders can use it as a part of market analysis. Now, I want us to have this off so you don't get confused. I'm not talking about equal highs and lows. Okay. So now, what is liquidity run, you would ask? Liquidity run is a movement where price travels towards an area that is expected to contain a concentration of orders, an area where we know there's a lot of liquidity sitting, and price pulls to that area before continuing the trend. It's usually called a liquidity run, right? So, for example, the previous high, the previous swing, low, the equal highs, the equal lows, like I have marked out on my chart, all these areas are areas that are magnetic to price, and liquidity runs are most likely to happen. Mind you, I would always mention that you have to apply these things with other confluences. Single-handedly, they are not just enough signal for entry. Now, these areas that I just mentioned often attract market activity because many traders are focused on them. So price gets drawn to that area because there are usually a large number of trades sitting on that point, like I already said. So why the liquidity run happened, you wonder. Market moves because buyers and sellers interact. That's the only thing that really drives the market. Areas with many pending orders often become natural destinations for price, and when price reaches these areas, trading activity can increase significantly. Like I said, lots of pending orders or already taking orders, but these areas has a high concentration of orders placed at that point, which can actually push price towards that point because there's a lot of liquidity. And like I said in my previous videos about liquidity spots are like magnets to price. So now, a liquidity run does not mean reversal, you would think. Like I said, one of the biggest misconceptions is that liquidity run ends with a reversal, and that's not really true, because after reacting to liquidity, price may continue in the same direction, pause, sometimes consolidate, reverse, or retrace before continuing. This is why I said you cannot single-handedly use it. You have to use it in conjunction with other confluences. You cannot single-handedly use it because it alone cannot give you. You have to. Market structure is one part that I tell people to focus on strongly. Market structure, you have to apply this no matter whatever strategy you're trading. Market structure is a very important concept that must be held tightly and well understood and well implemented in your trading. But you can remember, you also have to include all of these things with other confluences, but you have to keep it as simple as you can, not because of just the phrase that says simplicity keeps it, but because it actually helps you not get paralysis from analysis or by analysis. They would say paralysis by analysis, but I like to say paralysis from analysis because that can actually cause confusion during your analysis. So you don't want to exhaust yourself to the extent where that happens. So professional traders don't chase price simply because it is moving towards liquidity. Instead, they ask questions like, is the higher time frame trend still intact, which is what I talked about market structure. Has market structure changed? Is there confirmation after price reaches liquidity? does this align with my trading plan? Which is why I said, everybody, if you check my previous videos, you have to have a trading plan, you have to have a trading journal. These are very two important things. A trading plan and a trading journal, they're very important. You have to have all of these things so as to not overtrade or trade without a direction or a plan or goal, right? So liquidity is part of the analysis and not the entire analysis. It is part of the analysis, I will repeat, and not the entire analysis. So you must pair this with others. And there's so many mistakes that many of you make, and it's to enter too early, and then you assume every liquidity run will reverse, right? To where it's coming from, and most times it doesn't. It just automatically becomes a change of trend of market structure, which is why I mentioned those things you should look out for. Those questions you should genuinely ask yourself before anything. So mistakes people usually make is to enter too early, assume that every liquidity run will reverse, ignore market structure, or ignore risk management. Risk management is a very important thing. Most of you overlook that. You overlook it. You're like, oh, who cares about risk management? Some of you would say is put in the lot size. You know, who cares about risk management? But risk management is very important. You have to stay disciplined, you have to stay structured, and that's part of what it takes to be a trader. When you see people online and then you wonder, oh, they're putting so much lot sizes, behind most of those people are years of mastery, of repetition of this whole framework. It's not just them waking up in 3 months, in 6 months, in even 1 year, and then they're just hitting it with lot sizes. It's not all of those things, and that's what you need to understand. That they come online now does not mean they just started, and you knew them 6 months ago does not mean it took them 6 months. Many of them are coming after 2 years, after 3 years, before you get to know about them, and then they want to share their story from the bottom line like it just started. And then you get carried away by all of this influencers on social media or traders that have spent years building, and then they bring it online 6 months, and then you think, oh, it took him 6 months, and then they sell you stories that it took this, and they sell you stories like, oh, you need is 6 months. 6 months from now you should be profitable. 6 months from now you wouldn't be in the same spot. And that is not something I'd like to sell to people. That is not it. The truth might sound a bit tough and scary, but 6 months is not what it takes. Now, so many people make those mistakes, but you have to remember that liquidity identifies an area of interest, which is why you see people marking out point of interest. Those areas are usually clustered with a lot of orders and liquidity. So it's just an area of interest. You don't need to chase price on its way there. You don't need to chase it when it gets there. You have to wait, like I would say, wait for the market to give you its hand. Always wait for it to show you what next than jumping into guessing or assumptions and all of that, right? Instead of asking, will price reverse here, ask how is price behaving after reaching this liquidity. The reaction will often tell you more than the approach. And this is one way that I love to use look at the market. I don't ask questions like, will price reverse here? As price is going towards that liquidity, what's the external structure? Does it get to reverse? Do I get to jump in? Do I get to follow the sell, the buy, whatever direction is coming from, right? And I want you to shift your perspective into thinking like this. How is price behaving after getting to that point of interest, right? To that area of interest, to that point where there's a lot of clustered orders or liquidity. How is price behaving after reaching this point? That's what's going to determine what next to do. Don't ask yourself, will it reverse, or I assume it will, so I'm just going to take a trade here, right? No. You need to be able to shift the way you think, your perspective. Sometimes it's not just about the skill you're trading, it's how you think and that can actually be a very big factor on the decisions you make in trading. So how is price behaving after reaching this liquidity point? What are the confirmation it's giving? Does it change the trend from this point? Wait. If it means waiting, wait. That's why people say trading takes a lot of patience and discipline, and these are the areas where those things actually show up. So liquidity runs are a normal part of market behavior, and understanding them help traders read the market with more patience and better context. And these are things you need to understand. You have to apply this with other confluences. This single-handedly is not enough. It is a very big part of it, but it's not just, you can't just single-handedly think that this is just going to give you an edge. You have to apply it with other things. Not so much, it doesn't have to be too much, and it can be too much and work for you. Every different thing works for everyone. We don't always have the same framework around trading, but what we do have is the same basic knowledge, which is what I'm teaching right now. So that will be all for today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and if you have questions, don't ask in the comment sections. Bye.